I trusted him with my dreams, the list I built for years, the one thing that could change my life. But he handed it to her, his secret lover. And when she used my future to shine, I thought I'd lost everything. But destiny had a cruel way of returning favors, because the same betrayal that broke me would soon destroy him. It all began the day I finished my dream university list. I remember sitting in my small room, surrounded by papers, sticky notes, and coffee cups, my laptop glowing in the dark. It wasn't just a list, it was years of sleepless nights, of missed birthdays, of whispered prayers before deadlines. Each university name felt like a promise to myself that I'd someday make it out of this small town and create something beautiful, something lasting. And he was there through it all. Adrian, my boyfriend, my confidant, the one who used to bring me late-night coffee, whispering, "You're going to make it, Maya. You'll design buildings people will travel the world to see." His words were like a safety net when I doubted myself. We'd been together for 3 years, surviving college chaos together, sharing laughter in the library and dreams under city lights. I thought if anyone deserved my trust, it was him. So when I showed him that list, my secret universities, scholarship links, portfolio drafts, it felt natural. He was part of that dream. He promised to help me polish my essays, to remind me of deadlines, to stand beside me when the acceptance letters came in. He even said we'd celebrate every offer together with our favorite strawberry milkshake. I smiled then, not knowing that every detail I shared would soon become ammunition for someone else's success. At first, nothing seemed wrong. He was supportive, attentive, even proud. But things began to shift when Laura entered the picture. She wasn't exactly my friend, more like a rival who always had to prove she was better. She mocked my obsession with architecture, laughed when I skipped parties, called me a robot with blueprints. But suddenly, she started asking me about my field, what universities were best, how I was applying, what scholarships were worth it. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was changing. Then came the first shock. We were working on a group project one afternoon when she casually mentioned something that froze me mid-breath. "Oh, I was looking at that MIT design scholarship you found," Adrian said. "It's really competitive." I blinked. "What scholarship?" "The one with the portfolio submission, your favorite, right?" He said. "You spent months on it." Her tone was teasing, but all I heard was betrayal. Adrian had told her about that. That scholarship was something I discovered after weeks of research, something I hadn't shared with anyone else but him. I laughed it off, pretending not to care, but my heart was pounding. That night, I went straight to him. "Why did you tell Laura about my scholarship?" I asked, trying to sound calm. He looked confused, then defensive. "I was just helping her, Maya. She's been asking about applications, and I thought you wouldn't mind." "Wouldn't mind," I repeated. "That was my work, Adrian. My research. You had no right to share it." He sighed, brushing it off. "You're overreacting. It's not a big deal. She won't even apply there." But she did. And she didn't just apply, she used my ideas. My essay theme, my concept about sustainable community design, even the structure of my portfolio presentation. Everything. When the results came, I waited anxiously, refreshing my inbox every hour. Each rejection felt like a stab. "We regret to inform you, unfortunately, we had many qualified applicants," the words blurred together until I could barely read. I started doubting myself. Maybe my work wasn't good enough. Maybe I had overestimated my talent. And then, like a cruel twist, Laura posted a photo online, standing in front of a banner that read, "MIT School of Architecture, Incoming Scholars." Her caption burned into my eyes. "Dreams do come true when you work hard enough." The comments flooded in. "Congratulations." Applause. Even Adrian's. "So proud of you, Laura. You deserve it." I stared at that comment until tears blurred my vision. My heart cracked open in silence. The man who had held my trembling hands during my lowest nights, who had promised to fight beside me, had handed over my dreams to someone else. For days, I couldn't eat, couldn't speak. My world turned gray. My mother asked if I was okay, but how could I explain that I'd been robbed, not of money, not of possessions, but of the very future I'd built piece by piece? I saw them together after that. Adrian and Laura, laughing in the cafeteria, walking hand in hand through the corridor I used to share with him. I avoided them, but their voices always seemed to find me. "You're amazing, Laura," he'd say. You worked so hard." Every time I heard those words, something inside me hardened. One evening, I passed by the architecture studio and saw them there. She was showing him her project, my project. I recognized my sketches, my ideas, even my color palette. And he was smiling proudly. I didn't confront them, not that day. Instead, I walked out into the rain, letting the drops wash over me until my clothes clung to my skin. For the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt something colder, sharper, determined. That night, I packed away every plan, every printed dream. I deleted my old essays, cleared my wall of notes, and took one deep breath. I wasn't going to cry anymore. They could have my stolen dreams, my stolen plans, but not my strength. If I was going to rebuild, I would do it quietly. I would start from zero, but this time, I wouldn't let anyone near enough to destroy it again. I began researching new opportunities, smaller firms, lesser-known competitions, community projects. No glamour, no applause. Just honest work. I decided to apply for a local internship that barely paid, but I didn't care. It was a place where real architects worked with purpose, not prestige. While Adrian and Laura celebrated their fake success, I buried myself in learning. I stayed late in the office, absorbing everything I could. The exhaustion was brutal, but it was healing me. Every brick, every design draft reminded me that I still had power. Sometimes, I'd catch glimpses of their perfect lives online, smiling at university gates, posting about conferences, calling themselves a team. I'd feel a sting, yes, but it faded faster each time. Because I knew something they didn't: truth doesn't stay buried forever. One day, it would surface. And when it did, it wouldn't just expose their lies. It would prove that even after losing everything, I still had something they never would: authenticity. And as I stared at my hands, rough from work but steady, I whispered to myself, "You haven't lost, Maya. You're just being prepared for something greater." I didn't know then that those words would soon come true. That their betrayal, the one that nearly destroyed me, would one day lead to the most powerful chapter of my life, and the downfall of the man who broke me. He thought I would stay broken. He thought I would disappear quietly, like a chapter he could close without consequence. But life doesn't let betrayal end so easily. What he stole from me was not my dream, it was just a draft of it. The real thing, the one written in blood, tears, and sleepless nights, was still mine. And one day, it would rise again, higher than he ever imagined. Months had passed since that night I walked away from everything. I barely spoke to anyone. I deleted my social media, stopped going to the places we used to share, and filled the silence with the sound of drafting pencils and the hum of my computer. My internship at the small architectural firm wasn't glamorous, but it was raw and real. We designed homes for struggling families, schools for children who studied under leaking roofs. For the first time, I was creating for people, not prestige. There was no Adrian here, no Laura. No one cared where I studied or which university I didn't get into. They cared about what I could build with my own hands. And with every project, every blueprint, I rebuilt myself piece by piece. But the world has a strange way of circling back. One morning, while reviewing project updates, my supervisor handed me a flyer. "There's a design competition being hosted by the International Architecture Foundation," he said. "You should apply, Maya. They're offering a full scholarship for the winner, any university of your choice." My heart stopped. A scholarship, a second chance. I hesitated for days. Fear whispered, reminding me of how I'd been betrayed the last time I reached too high. But one night, as I stared at the skyline through my small apartment window, I realized I couldn't let fear have the final word. Adrian had taken my dream once. I wasn't going to let him take my courage too. I applied, but under my middle name, Amara. I wanted no one to connect this submission to me, to my past. I poured everything into that project, my pain, my hope, my story. It was called Foundations of Resilience. Every sketch reflected a truth I had lived, that sometimes the strongest structures come from broken pieces. I worked for weeks, sometimes falling asleep at my desk, waking up to the faint glow of dawn. My colleagues offered quiet encouragement. No one knew what this meant to me, but their belief kept me going. When I finally submitted my entry, I closed my eyes and whispered, "This time, it's mine." Days turned into weeks. I didn't expect anything. I had learned to expect disappointment. But one afternoon, while I was on site measuring foundations for a community project, my phone buzzed. A message from the competition board. Congratulations, Amara. You have been selected as a finalist for the International Architecture Scholarship. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled as I read it again and again. Finalist. Out of thousands of entries across the world. The finals were to be held in London. My firm helped me prepare. They believed in me more than I believed in myself. I sold some of my belongings to cover travel costs and borrowed the rest from my mother, who simply said, "Go. This is your time." The presentation day arrived. I stood before a panel of judges, renowned architects from around the globe. I showed them my designs, my concept, my story. And when they asked what inspired me, I didn't tell them about betrayal. I told them about rebuilding, about how broken dreams can still become blueprints for something beautiful. When I finished, there was silence. Then, applause. I didn't know what to expect as I waited backstage, my heart thundering. Then they announced the winner. First place, Amara Devlin, for Foundations of Resilience. Tears filled my eyes. I couldn't move. The stage lights blurred as I walked forward to accept the award. Cameras flashed, people clapped, and someone handed me an envelope, my scholarship acceptance. The next few months felt like a dream. My name appeared in magazines and architecture blogs. Invitations poured in. I was offered a full scholarship to the same university that had once rejected me, MIT. The irony made me smile. This time, they didn't know I was the same girl they had once dismissed. And that's when fate decided to finish the story. At a global architecture conference hosted by MIT, I was invited to speak about my journey. I stepped onto the stage, confident, calm, proud. The audience was filled with professionals, students, and guests. As I scanned the crowd, my gaze froze. Adrian, sitting in the third row. His hair was unkempt, his eyes hollow, his suit wrinkled. Next to him was no one. No Lara, no smile, just a shadow of the man I once loved. For a split second, my hands shook. But then I remembered who I was now, not the girl who cried on her bedroom floor, but the woman who turned betrayal into strength. I began to speak, not about him, not about the past, but about perseverance, purpose, and the importance of integrity in design, and in life. When the session ended, the applause was thunderous. I stepped off stage, and there he was, waiting. His voice trembled when he spoke. Amara. I didn't know. It's really you. I met his gaze. Yes, Adrian, it's me. He swallowed hard, guilt flashing in his eyes. I ruined everything. I was stupid. I thought helping Lara would make me look good. She promised we'd both succeed. But she used me. She used your work. It all fell apart. I said nothing, just listened. He continued, desperate. She was caught for plagiarism. They revoked her scholarship. My name got dragged into it. I lost my internship, my reputation. Everything. His voice cracked. I've been trying to find you. I wanted to apologize. I looked at him, this man who had once been my world. I didn't feel hate anymore. Just distance, the kind that comes when you've outgrown your pain. I don't need your apology, I said quietly. Because your betrayal taught me something no degree ever could, that when people try to steal your light, you learn how to shine without them. He looked down, tears welling. Can we start over? I smiled sadly. I already did. Just, not with you. And I turned away, the sound of applause echoing again as I walked back into the light of my own future. That night, as I stood by the window of my hotel room, I looked at the city skyline and smiled. I had once dreamed of building monuments. Now, I understood the real masterpiece was the strength I'd built within myself. Betrayal had broken me, but it also rebuilt me stronger than ever. And as for him, his downfall was never my revenge. It was simply the natural consequence of living a lie. Some stories don't need revenge to end beautifully. Sometimes, success itself is the loudest answer. And that night, under the city lights that once symbolized my unreachable dreams, I finally whispered the words that defined my journey. You can steal my plans, but you'll never steal my purpose.